Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a pretty wild and honestly striking irony about modern urban development. We usually look at our rapidly growing, bustling cities and think, wow, that's progress. But there is a hidden, literal heat being generated by that exact progress. Today we're going to dig into the hard data to see exactly how our cities are rapidly turning into invisible ovens and how our desperate attempts to escape all this heat are actually, kind of ironically, pushing us further apart from each other. Picture this for a second. You step outside on a totally normal afternoon in Bengaluru, right? You look down, and you see kids' wax crayons that were left out in the sun, literally melting and flowing across the pavement like colorful liquid. Crazy, right? But this isn't some dystopian sci-fi movie set 50 years in the future. This is the staggering reality of our cities right now, today. And sure, it's super easy to just point a finger at global warming in general and call it a day, but the actual on-the-ground data reveals something much deeper and honestly a lot more terrifying. We are actively building our own invisible ovens.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, Decoding Urban Heat Islands, the science of the concrete jungle.
So to really wrap our heads around what's going on, we have to look at a scientific concept called the urban heat island effect. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that this extreme localized heat isn't just a total accident. It's largely a man-made structural issue. In our massive rush for convenience and endless development, we've systematically ripped up natural cooling trees and replaced them with towering concrete. And here's the kicker. That concrete acts exactly like a giant sponge for thermal energy. It just soaks up the sun's intense heat all day long, traps it deep inside, and then slowly, stubbornly radiates it back out the entire night. And you can see the direct, dangerous fallout of that trapped heat in the 2024 data out of Delhi. While daytime temperatures are definitely climbing, night temperatures, they're actually shooting up even faster. Because all that concrete is bleeding heat long after the sun goes down, our nights literally cannot cool off anymore. And guys, this is incredibly dangerous for human health. Our bodies absolutely rely on those cooler nighttime temperatures to just recover and reset. When that doesn't happen, the risk of severe heat stroke doesn't just bump up a little bit, it multiplies exponentially. Which brings us to a really fascinating, though troubling point. Section 2, the AC and isolation paradox. Cooling the inside, burning the outside. Think about it. When the heat gets just totally unbearable outside, what is our immediate knee-jerk reaction? We crank up the air conditioning. But that exact action creates a profound paradox. On one hand, sure, we get our perfectly chilled indoor living room, but the cost of that is the AC's exhaust system actively blasting extreme, concentrated heat directly out into the street. We are effectively creating these invisible ovens all over the city, trapping ourselves in tiny, cool little bubbles, while literally making our own neighborhoods outside even hotter. And this physical retreat is practically a mirror image of what's happening to us psychologically. We retreat into these artificially cooled, screen-lit bubbles to hide from the very heat we're helping to pump out. It feeds into this wild reality of modern isolation. We might be digitally plugged into the whole world through our phones, but we're becoming completely alienated and physically isolated from the actual human communities living right outside our front doors. But we really have to ground this science in human reality, right? Because not everyone gets a nice, cool AC bubble to retreat into. Just look at this number, 380 million. That is 380 crore outdoor workers. We're talking about delivery drivers, rickshaw pullers, construction workers. These are real people, forced to just endure this intense compounding heat that our concrete buildings and our AC exhausts are churning out. They are the ones bearing the absolute brunt of our urban design choices. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer economic devastation tied to all this heat. Studies show that for just a single 1-degree spike in temperature, the income of these outdoor workers drops by a staggering 14%. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a massive chunk of their livelihood just vanishing, simply because the city environment we have built is becoming literally too hostile for a human being to work in. So how are we trying to fix this? Let's get into Section 3, the illusion of green development, fake solutions and lost forests. When you actually sit down and evaluate the development data from 2024, the facts are incredibly stark. We are watching centuries-old ecological protections in major cities being actively dismantled, all in the name of development. Over in Mumbai, we've seen the destruction of vital mangroves. In Delhi, the clearing of the historic ridge forest. We are literally talking about thousands of hectares of mature, old-growth forests wiped out in a single year. We're essentially severing the exact natural lifelines that have always naturally cooled our urban spaces. Now, I know what you might be thinking. The authorities usually say, hey, if we cut down one tree, we promise to plant 10 new ones, right? Well, let's look at the actual data from a recent study out of IIT Bombay. Their findings show that for the destruction of just 18 mature, old-growth trees, they are planting a massive 1 square kilometer of new saplings. And hey, that sounds amazing on paper. But here's the reality check. Fully 50% of these new plantings are shoved into completely isolated patches that offer absolutely zero ecological value or cooling benefit to the city. It's basically an illusion of replacement. And the reality gets even harsher when you see this statistic. 90%, fully 90% of newly planted saplings just outright die because they lack proper long-term care. You simply cannot instantly swap out the complex, massive cooling power of a centuries-old tree for a tiny little sapling that probably isn't even going to survive the season. The hard truth is, we are losing our green cover far, far faster than we could ever actually replace it. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, Real Solutions for Tomorrow, from isolation to collective action. I want to anchor our solutions in this absolutely incredible data point. Just look at the immense, undeniable cooling power of nature. In the exact same neighborhood, standing in direct sunlight can hit a blistering 47 degrees Celsius. But literally just steps away, standing under the dense canopy of a mature tree, the temperature drops all the way down to 35 degrees. Guys, that is a massive 12-degree temperature drop provided entirely by pedestrian-level tree shade. That right there, that is the natural air conditioning we so desperately need. So what can you actually do about it? Well, here are 3 concrete, immediate steps you can take today to break that modern isolation and fight the heat island effect. Step 1, protect the old trees in your own neighborhood. If you see mature trees being cut down unnecessarily, raise your voice, because they are literally irreplaceable. Step 2, shift your energy reliance. Start looking into moving away from fossil fuels and maybe installing solar panels to take the massive burden off the local grid. And step 3, which is honestly the most immediate human action you can take, break your bubble of isolation. Step outside and offer cold drinking water to the outdoor workers in your area. They are carrying the heaviest burden of all this heat, and a little community support goes a long way. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If we just keep paving over our natural canopies with concrete, and if we just stay locked inside our isolated, air-conditioned bubbles while the outside world literally burns, we really have to ask ourselves, in 2026, for the children being born right now, will a blistering 45 degrees just be considered normal? The future of your city, its temperature, and its sense of community, it's entirely in our collective hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful at all, please share it. Step outside your bubble today, and let's start actually cooling our cities down together. See you next time.